I'm starting.
Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February Anime Twin Cities board meeting. As per usual, we have a link to the agenda in the description of the YouTube meeting, as well as a link to our attendance form. If you would like to be tracked for your attendance to this meeting to earn voting rights, please make sure you fill out that form and put a greeting in the chat so that we know that you're here. With that, I will go ahead and get started on our agenda for the night. So first off, the bylaws amendment passed. What day did that pass on? Back on February 4th, it passed. So we're very excited to have our new bylaws in effect. With that, it means Nick is officially able to vote with us now. So yay! And it's going to make our upcoming election cycle easier. And it's just good to know that we have bylaws that were written by someone that specializes in it, so that everything should be hunky dory. If anyone has any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'll either address them at the end, or if something seems super important that's time sensitive, we'll grab it at that time. The next announcement that we have is that we do have a new communications coordinator. Yay! That position has been open for quite a while, so welcome, Michaela. She did our the last two Facebook posts for us, and she'll be presenting a couple of updates at the meeting later on in the agenda. Then the next point would be planned discussions from visiting parties. We do not have any, so we can go ahead and move right past that one. So I'm going to share my screen now because we have gotten quite a few different requests in our email that we would like to go over. We're going to present a screen, and I want this screen. Okay. All right, so that is the agenda right now. Okay, so we've received a few requests from the Autism Society of Minnesota on if we want to become a sponsor for them. They have quite a few different events. They are actually offering sponsor packages or community partner packages. And basically, they let you would get either signage or an exhibit booth at their events, whatever we want to do. Um, So I think this would be a good partner for us, but I'm just not sure if we want to, like this event, the Minnesota Autism Conference is very soon after Anime Detour, so I'm just not sure if we're going to be available to be at that convention, or we could just be a community partner and just have signage there. Anyone have any opinions on
I know we've partnered with them in the past, so I have no objection to continuing that partnership.
Yeah,
this? Okay.
It was a good one.
Agreed. Oh, Bruce, go ahead.
Mhm.
I don't see any issue. I'd say probably let's look at sponsor package and see what we can possibly customize, just so that way, just so we can go for like the Steps for Autism event, the September one, and then even the November one, and see
Okay,
if
but
that
then maybe skip the one in April just because we don't have the bandwidth for it.
yeah, and then see if maybe that
Mm.
if it's cheaper than the 14.99. If not, then just
Okay,
go with the 14.99. Then we just don't have to go to every single event. So
sure. Okay. I will reach out to them and we will go from there. Then the next charities that we received, request that we received is from Minnesota Kyoto Ranmei. And they are a Japanese archery group in Minnesota, and they are looking for donations to help put on their, I guess it's sort of a training exercise in August. And I think that is definitely something that we could do. Their top tier one is that starts at $750, goes to 1,000. So I think I am 100% on board with donating to these guys. I don't know how everyone else feels about it,
I just wish I was local.
right?
I've got no opposition to it because I mean, typically for what we send out to the other
hmm
charities and
Like
stuff,
1,000 is pretty standard for what we usually do, I think. Yes, Jeanette.
Would there be any way that they would be willing to present or showcase something at a future Anime Detour?
I just don't know what we can do inside of the hotel
Mm.
with archery. I'm sure that they would if we could. But I know the programming stuff is done
Okay.
for this upcoming convention,
Yeah.
but maybe next year we could. Or maybe they'd want a table or something like Jasmine has a table, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
just
so yeah, all right.
the weapons policy for the Hyatt, I'd be curious about.
Right. I do not know.
Yeah, I don't actually know that it would be totally impossible to do anything. We would obviously want to talk quite thoroughly to the hotel first, but you know there is the gym space, which is pretty hard to injure. So it's not totally impossible, and I assume they would probably want to show more form things than like just have a Robin Hood contest.
Like actual
So
target shooting, not indoors.
yeah, so there might be something we can do. It'd be something we could talk about.
Okay. So should we go ahead and vote on donating $1,000 to their event?
Yep. I'll
Okay.
second the
Can I
motion.
get a second? Okay. Wonderful. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Beautiful. Okay. All right. We will go ahead and reach out to them about donating to their event. Let's see. All right, and so that is it for charities for this month. As a reminder, that position is open. So if someone wants to help us out with running all of this sort of stuff, that would be great. Please apply. Next up is for the special events. Wasn't sure where else to put this email, but we did get a request from St. Thomas Academy about basically having if we knew anyone that would be able to like host an educational guide at their school. And I know the chair team gave that request to us because they just don't have the bandwidth for it right now. And I don't know that we have any resources for that. So I was thinking we could maybe direct them towards JASM, the Japanese American Society of Minnesota, to see if they have anything that is like that. What do you guys think?
Of course, as soon as I go off mute, I cough. I think that would be a good option to explore just because they would have a better knowledge base to work from outside of just, anime and manga, which is, I mean, really the core of it, but I mean, that sort of opportunity would be better suited for like the whole spectrum of Japanese feel.
Yes, Bruce?
All right. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay. On that remark, I think it's a good thing as well, but what kind of time frame were they also looking for as well?
I'm not sure that they had a specific time frame. It was more just like we're looking for information on this.
Okay.
But I mean probably while class is still in session, so maybe the next couple of months.
Okay. Because at
Okay.
least when
And
I can at least assist when it comes to helping plan something. I mean, I can't actually be there, but I did major in Japanese studies, so
and then the last thing I have for special events is that the St. Paul Nagasaki Sister Cities Committee let us know that they are having their Cherry Blossom Festival on May 3rd. And that's something that we can bring a table and chairs and a tent to host our event promotion, basically. and it doesn't cost any money. So I definitely think we should try and get our special events team there. So, sound good to everybody? Yeah. It's in May, so it should hopefully be warmer than it is now.
Well, you've jinxed us now, so.
But
But no, I think
we
that's
can do
a
that.
great idea.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, that is it. So again, that was our special events coordinator information. That position is open at the moment. And then we'll go ahead and shoot it over to our anime detour coordinator.
Who was totally ready for that. Yeah. So it's always difficult to figure out what level of specificity to go into for board meetings. Hard to give updates from every department or anything like that. But everything looks very good. I know that it's been a slight topic in the public, so might as well address it. We continue to be assured that construction will be done on the Sheraton in time. There shouldn't be any issues with that. I know that we've been dealing with a little bit of some of their technology being less than 100% friendly. We are doing our best to address that as well. Our acting reservations head is definitely aware of the situation, and we will be making further announcements about all of that to try to reassure everybody. We believe that we are still full speed ahead, and certainly if anything does go differently than that, we will make sure that we are taking care of everybody who is staying at the Sheraton.
All right. Is that everything?
I mean, I guess besides that, just there was the big programming meeting this weekend, so we do now have a prospective schedule for the entire weekend. It is an incredible lineup. We actually are going to have to say no to more people than we ever have before because we just have too many people wanting to run awesome things at our convention. It's a pretty nice problem to have. But yeah, I think we should be very excited. So obviously we'll have lots of individual announcements on social media of all the things that are going on, or at least some of the bigger things that are going on. But yeah, should be a really great schedule, really great con.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you, JC. I'll go ahead and shoot it over to Jeanette.
So our current balance in our business checking account is $428,000 and $85.75. And then our education fund increased a little bit with a little interest. So it's at $3,098.32. And our community fund savings account is at $14,507.03. And that's all I have to report.
All right. Perfect. Thank you so much. And so then we'll go ahead and shoot it over to our new communications coordinator, Michaela. Do you have any updates for us?
Hi, everyone. I'm Michaela. I'm the new communications coordinator. I would just like to say thank you all for the opportunity. The only updates I have at this time are that we shared JASM's J-Quiz event that took place this Sunday, February 9th. And we are looking towards creating a Blue Sky account for Anime Twin Cities to hopefully better reach the community. And that is what I have for updates at this time.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Oh, yes, Bruce. You are muted.
Let me know once you get the Blue Sky account set up, and then we can put in a DNS record so we can actually use our URL as the handle.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll have to coordinate with Christina and you to help
Okay.
kind of get that all set up.
Yep, no worries.
Thank you.
Sweet. Okay. So next up on the agenda is a 15-minute break. I'm voting to skip that. Can I get a second? Wonderful. All in favor of skipping the break? Beautiful. Okay. All right. So going to share my screen again. All right. We have received a policy request basically to reinstate our rental and loaned equipment policy. It is, I believe, 11 pages long. It is very detailed. And I am not sure how much we want to go into the nitty gritty during this meeting, but we certainly can because that's what we're here for. I guess basically as an overview, my main thing is I don't foresee this as us putting a link on our website again saying, hey, if you want to rent equipment, reach out to us. I think this is more of we have internal partners, external partners that we already have a relationship with that we might want to rent equipment to. And this is basically a policy to cover all of the extremities that could happen in that scenario. Yes, Bruce, please go ahead.
Well, I can kind of do a high level overview of what Cass and my thinking was behind this. Um, so, primary benefit is we have quite a few partner events. So, if you scroll down on the partnerships, it lists Anime Fusion, Furry Migration, Twin Cities Con, VGM Con. I'm not familiar with that one. And then, of course, another event that we do have a number of Detour staff that help out with Anime Nebraska here in my area in Omaha. And the primary thing is just to open it up with those organizations that would actually shoot an email internally. And then, of course, it will go through the normal review process. And what's kind of lined out is how that process would occur. The organization would ultimately have a decision of saying whether they say yes or no. So it's just not a flat out, they send it and it will get approved. It will, of course, be reviewed. If it needs to go up to ATC board level for review, then it would, but it would just need to do that, and it would just kind of entail the process of check in, check out. There would be a deposit that is initially sent over to cover stuff if there is any damage, but once that is done, that deposit would be then remitted back to the organization. So it would just be a liability to cover it, and then once it's actually done, it would then be presented back to the organization outside of, I believe, what any of the cost rate sheet, what that is, and that would be just based off normal formulas that are utilized with that, and Cass has a little bit more information on that just because they do that with their day-to-day job.
Okay, so
Can I
guess
jump in too?
yes, please.
Yeah, so I didn't obviously craft this, but I did also have some discussions with Cass and looking it over. I think one of the important things is there's kind of 3 levels, and so anyone seeking a new partnership starts at a level where they have to give a bigger deposit, and there actually is a little bit of money that we keep even if everything comes back in good shape. So it's kind of one of those things where as we build a better relationship and we've done an exchange a few times, you get better terms. So it really would, incentivize this going well. I know there have been some situations in the past where stuff did not come back in the shape that we wanted. We didn't have a detailed policy like this. We didn't have the same amount of sort of scrutiny of what was happening. And I know, that left not the best taste in some people's mouths, which I get. And I think the other idea here that I think is really good is that, me and the care team or whatever would not just be saying like, oh yes, we're promising this equipment. Like whatever department that equipment typically lives with, we would be going to and saying, hey, there's interest in this. Are you okay loaning this out? So it would not be imposed on anyone if anyone is like, no, this stuff's really sensitive. I have to get on my people all the time about how to treat it properly. I don't want to just send it out. Like we will be cognizant of that. It's much more of the idea of we've benefited sometimes from these exchanges quite a bit. We want to make that a thing that we can do and we can reciprocate. And I think having a detailed policy should make that go better and help build those relationships in a positive way.
Yes, Allie.
So if I can offer a bit of a counterpoint, I'm not going to say that Bruce and JC aren't making good points or that it's not a nicely crafted policy, but there was a tendency amongst the events that we were partnered with, and not all of them, but still enough of them that the number of those who were being approved was regularly going down, that often, as the longer that they stayed partnered with us, the more careless they got with the equipment, the more comfortable they got with taking it and not taking proper care and returning it in good condition. I went through a lot of broken equipment that had been returned by a partner of many, many years who previously had done pretty well at returning equipment mostly intact, other than, for full on forgetting to return large amounts of equipment in a couple of previous instances. And it was basically destroyed. And that comes to my other point, which is that we're doing this basically for free. And we're putting in a pretty significant investment of our own people's time to do this. We have to have people go to the locker and get the equipment. They have to know what equipment has to be picked up. They have to meet the person there who's picking up for this event, sign off on handing it over. They have to then meet this person again to return it. And then someone has to inspect all of the equipment, which in some cases of, things that, are powered, for instance, may require powering on the equipment and testing to make sure it still works, that it hasn't been damaged in some way that can't be caught on a visual inspection. That's a lot of time that we're asking of our staff for these things. And we're basically getting nothing back out of it other than the partnership, which, yes, that's great. But that's still a pretty heavy demand on top of all the other things that our people are asked to do.
Okay, Hope.
I'm not saying one way or the other in regards to either option for yay or nay, but I didn't notice when I was skimming it, but is there like, who would be responsible for doing the check-in, check-out process? Is it going to be a case by case based off of who it is? Is it specific people in the tech department who live in the state who would be responsible for doing it if it's a tech related equipment? Is it going to be specifically people from the board and the board only? Like, where is that, like, who would be responsible for doing that side of the process?
Bruce, do you have an answer or a different question?
No, I have an answer. If you scroll back up in the document, I think that was actually lined out there.
Cool. Where? I missed it then. There's just a lot of
If
words
the
in my
partner
brain.
accepts
For it all together. So
right under their process and responsible parties.
got it. Okay, cool. Like I said, lots of words, and my brain likes to fuse them all together. So I missed it.
And
Cool.
the good factor is it at least does fall under, covers everything within the division that I'm a part of, since logistics, tech services, video production are all under the electric division, so it's all under the same head. So
basically, though, it's the logistics team that is kind of in charge of it.
Follow up to that then, since we don't technically have a logistics head, is that by default landing to Cass then?
I believe that would be correct, right, JC?
Yeah, it's Cass for now, both as acting head and as the electric division head. I don't think we're moving that anytime soon. So I think Cass will continue to sort of be at the top of that ladder one way or the other. Obviously, we'd love to have a logistics head also involved in this, but yeah, I think that is primarily where it would live.
And so I was looking at the few notes that I can find for the old rental policy, and it looks like the old one was there's $150 non-refundable rental fee, and then an additional $200 deposit conditioned on return of the equipment once we do the inspection. So I guess, do you know if there was a reason why we have no fee collection on here at all for some of them? No? Okay. Allie, go ahead.
Wrong button. I was just going to note that inspection part was a big part of where we were basically getting screwed on the old policy, where people just didn't have time to do those inspections in the period of time required before we had to return the deposit. That's why this particular batch of equipment got, parts of it were utterly destroyed. Like I'm not saying that hyperbolically. Things were physically broken in ways that I've never seen before. And no one caught it at the time because no one had the time available to inspect the equipment during that inspection period. So it was just assumed it's probably fine, give them their money back. So we had no recourse after that. And that's where one of my concerns falls in this again. We didn't have time before. Do we have time now? I don't know. But that's kind of the problem I'm seeing with it is the time wasn't taken in the past.
Yeah, I guess it would have to be like when we're asking logistics or the department who owns the equipment, do you have the time / manpower / ability to make sure this is coming back in good condition before you agree to rent it out? That's where that would be.
Yeah, and quite honestly, it's I don't know that I can give a thoroughly satisfactory answer other than I'm glad that you've raised this as a concern. Obviously, I was not involved in this at all in the past. If we do implement this, I'm very aware that's been a problem, and we'll try to make sure that we have something in place to make sure that does not happen again. It's all forward looking. It's a little difficult to say how we make that happen, but I am noting it as a strong concern.
And then my other question, like I said earlier, was so we put no cost on it for, our tier 1 partner. And honestly, I mean, even if it comes back in perfect condition, it is still technically wear and tear on equipment that we are loaning out to you. I think that is something that we should still charge for. I mean, it certainly would be cheaper than that person purchasing it themselves, but it is a rental. You generally pay for rentals. Any yays or nays on that?
No,
Yes,
I'm in agreement in that even if we are really good partners, super buddy, think all no issues whatsoever. If this is something that we do decide to move forward with, I definitely don't see it being something that we're just going to, here you are, we'll trust you at face value, because accidents do happen. And then what happens if an accident does happen with that trustworthy partner, and then we're stuck on the hook for something that nobody could foresee potentially happening, and then we're just sort of up the creek without a paddle.
okay. Yes, Allie?
That kind of going off of what Hope was saying there too. Like I said, the partners that we were having more trouble with were the ones that had been around for a while. They got comfortable. They would have been into that secondary partner tier at least, where they're not paying any maintenance fee and minimal deposit. There is a known effect where if people pay money for something, they respect it more, like an actual studied psychological effect. And our equipment, quite honestly, wasn't being respected by the partners who were borrowing it.
Okay. Bruce?
So if we at least have somebody that's notating this stuff so we can have this feedback and it can be sent back to Cass and myself, so we can kind of fix any of the changes that need to be done. I do agree. I think the fee amount should honestly be increased, or that there's a flat fee of something. Because even if it is a primary partner, I do disagree that it shouldn't just be 100% flat. I still think there should be some form of monetary exchange, but I do think we can kind of retool the items on that a bit. And then the other factor is, I think when it comes to the partnership levels, I think since we're re-implementing this, everyone should basically start back at square one.
Okay.
So organizations that are requesting are going to be treated as an establishing partner, so that way they prove themselves so they can handle the equipment. At least from the standpoint of, as tech services department head, if an organization's renting out equipment, that would be my expectation.
Okay, JC.
Yeah, I don't oppose putting in a fee at all levels either. And yeah, I think maybe some combination of flat fee and percentage might make sense. The only piece that I would maybe want to add to that is if we do literally have a partner where we rent from them and they rent from us, every year, then possibly make it waivable just so we're not, here's your $500. Okay, thanks. Here's your $500. That's silly. But I think that's a very specific situation. So as long as we can, waive it in just that situation, I think otherwise having the number does make sense.
I feel like it's good for tracking though, to have the money change hands and then it's written down somewhere. Allie, or did I make your point?
You made somewhat of the point. The other part that I was gonna say then was if we have something like that, I wouldn't call it like a primary partner because that kind of implies, well, you start out at the establishing, then you step up to the secondary, and then a year or two you get to be primary kind of a thing. I'd make that as like a special partner. Make it a very, very clear that it's not something where you kind of step up into it where you have no fee. It's a special position where it's based on other circumstances beyond just the basics of any other partnership.
Oh,
So I think that we have very good foundation laid down for the proposal moving forward. And I think it would be appropriate to table it off and let Bruce and Cass move on with it after gathering the feedback from today's session, and then we can come back to it next month.
yep. And I'm sure Nick is taking his notes like he always does. Thank you, Nick. So we can just refer to the notes.
And then I'll also
mhm.
preface this. Probably will work on it, but probably going to say that we probably won't revisit the subject until after Detour at that point.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. Okay. Valid point.
That's all I'm just going to say on that one because we're all in crunch mode.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then the last thing that I have on the agenda before open session is just policies discussion in general. So we said after we got the bylaws finished, which they now are, yay, we were going to go through and get policies written for all of the things that we need policies written for. But we are all in crunch time for con, but we can still work on some for sure. So I feel like we should prioritize what we think needs to get done first, and I think that's bans, and then coordinator reviews probably should get done first, and then when we have time, we can do the rest of them. But I don't know.
Yes, I am 100% on board with that because, like I said, I am not nearly as much of a crunch mode as the rest of you, as I am no longer a department head. So I have the spare time to do things like going over the bands and whatnot. So I'm okay with doing that.
Okay. Anyone else have thoughts or opinions on that? Nope. Oh, Bruce, yes.
I would say probably the ones that need to, besides bans, I would say conflict of interest along what should be on the top of that as well. Just because of previous events, I feel that's something that we should have as a higher priority. And probably same goes with a whistleblower of kind of covering that as well. So
yes, I agree.
Well, then that's just all of them back up at the top, almost, but not quite. It's fine. We'll figure it out. We'll make it work. So I guess that is our goal then, is to get at least 2 of these done before the next meeting. How does that sound? Sound good? Okay, beautiful. All right. So then with that, we'll go ahead and go to open session. I haven't seen anything come in on the chat. We'll give you guys a couple minutes if there's anything that you want to bring to the board's attention this evening. Our meeting actually went over half an hour this time. Yay, us. Remember when they used to be 3 hours? I do.
Yep.
Not fondly.
Correct, not fondly, indeed.
It was a great time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep, haven't seen anything come through. And it doesn't show anyone typing either, so I think we're probably good. So, I am in favor of ending the meeting at 7:35. Can I please get a second?
I'll second.
All right, all in favor of ending the meeting?
Aye.
Wonderful. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great